Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of E&Ftv. Today, we are joined by the brilliant Erik Tengen, who is the co-founder of Oaky. Erik, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Very happy to be on E&Ftv, finally.
It's obviously we've spoken about it prior, and we've had a couple of really good conversations. So I've been really looking forward to this one. And it's always interesting to get new and innovative, I suppose, tech companies on, because you're hearing about what's going on in that area of the world. Because it's got so much complexity to it, and there's so many things that are going on within these tech firms. It's always great to hear what new innovations are coming into the industry. So thank you so much for taking the time out of I know how busy you are, so thank you for taking the time out of your schedule and joining us. So I suppose the best way we like to start is just to understand a bit about the guest, a bit about you, your background, and of course, I suppose what actually brought you to co-found the Oaky brand.
Yeah, so I am Swedish. I am from the very, very, very southern tip of Sweden, where there's a bridge to Denmark. And my background was very, very different. So in Sweden, I was done with college in 2008, when there happened to be this enormous poker boom. Everybody was playing poker. Right. And I got kind of drawn into this, started playing for about a year. And then when all of our friends stopped playing, I continued together with another very good friend of mine. Right. And we kind of did this professional poker gig for almost 5 years after that.
Wow.
So very different type of background. And before starting any type of college, I was consumed by poker and thinking, this is going to be my life. But a little bit too social of a person to sit in front of 2 screens all day and have 16 tables running around.
Sure. Wow.
But I also had a big passion for music. So I learned how to DJ. I see you have a saxophone. Just mentioned it in the background.
Yeah.
So I was doing a lot of DJing. Also in those years, earlier years. But at the end of those 5 years or so, I was really sick and tired, honestly, of the whole poker life, and wanted to do something. And I wanted to move abroad. And one thing led to another. But after about a very spontaneous decision, I was with my suitcases in The Hague, about to start a hotel school study. And it was so spontaneous that I arrived there with my suitcases. I didn't even Google that it was next to the beach. So I just went for it. I had enough. Fantastic. But there I started a really nice education. And eventually that took me to Kuala Lumpur, where I did my final internship. And I happened to meet a Dutch guy called Lars, and he is now one of the 3 co-founders.
Right.
And we were just, playing squash in this kind of condominium that we were living in. And my whole family are entrepreneurs. Even my cousins have their own businesses. So it's like never a question, are you going to start your own? It's more, what are you going to do?
Sure.
And we were playing squash and having all these ideas. And we were first going to start a soup franchise, but that ended as quick as you can say soup. Yeah. And then looked at more and more things. And eventually we realized, and this was the first idea of Oaky, that if you can capture guest feedback during the hotel stay, that would be incredibly valuable. And I learned this from working at the Glen Eagles, where I also did my other internship, a famous golf resort. If you had angry guests leaving the hotel, that would be an opportunity lost. But if you were having a way for a guest to give more feedback in real time and you can deal with it, that would be really valuable. So moved back to Amsterdam, graduate from hotel school, and we meet our 3rd co-founder, Taco, who's very complimentary, more of a data guy, who's now leading our product team. And the 3rd of us, kind of the 3 musketeers, set off. We need to find an investor. We find a guy from our network who happened to invest in this Dutch bar. Wrote it down on a piece of beer coaster. Really funny. Right. I really wrote down the number and said, "Will you take it?" And then he went to pee, and then he came back, and we're like, "Yeah, how can you turn it down?" And that was the start of Oaky as a real-time feedback solution. And this was in 2015, I think, or 2014 maybe. And we started building it, and it was massively delayed, as everything is when you build something. But we also realized at some point that it was really hard to sell something that doesn't have a defined ROI.
Right. Yes. Okay.
So hoteliers were saying, real-time feedback is great, but can you build me something that will make me money?
Yes.
And
which is a fair question.
I think it's a fair question. So we went back to all of these hoteliers and we asked them, well, where in the customer journey can you make more money? And then actually, it's pretty funny. One guy from Hilton, his name is Floris. I always mention him when I tell the story. I don't know if he ever listens, but it's fine. He said, guys, there is something called pre-arrival upselling, where you have a captive audience coming to your hotel. You know quite a bit about the guests, so you can do some personalization, and you can reach out to them and offer them, relevant upgrades, etc. And there's really only one company called Nor1 that is doing this. And we said, wow, this is really interesting. So we built a very basic upsell functionality. And we just saw, oh my God, this hotel made 100 euros, 500 euros, 1,000 euros. And it was all, we could see it, it was black and white.
Yeah.
The revenue this hotel was making with our solution. And that was something completely different to doing feedback. So after about a year in, this was about in 2017, we only had maybe 100 customers or something. But all of them were thrilled about the upselling piece, and only 40% of them were using the feedback solution. So we actually killed the feedback, got rid of it, and pivoted entirely to become an upsell solution in 2017. And that changed everything for us, because we got extremely laser focused and really, really passionate about looking at upselling in a new lens. Not thinking about upselling as the traditional way of looking at upselling, like it needs to be a room upgrade or early check-in, late checkout, or a champagne, like the very standard things. Upselling in our perspective should be more of an art. Like, how can you really enhance the guest experience by offering whatever the guest is thinking about or in need of at different touch points of the guest journey? And if you're able to offer it, how do you make it easy for that guest to then buy it? And as long as the price is right and you make it easy to buy, and what you're offering is of value for the need of the guest, then our assumption was they will take those deals. So we looked at how can you maximize revenue by just offering a really, really great guest experience and extend that to the pre-stay element. That was how we started. And we said from day one, we're going to be a commission-free upselling platform. That was also a new thing. We just charged a flat fee. And hotels would have really, really high return on investment, which would mean that we had very happy customers, which is great. That basically took us into Oaky. And then fast forward many, many years, we're now, I say it, trying to sound humble, but I'm also very proud. We're one of the best in the world at what we do. And we service several thousand hotels across 120 countries or something. And really, really love what we do, and really excited about. We were talking about it before we started. There are so many bad things that are happening right now, but the most exciting, if you can pull out the positives from the pandemic, it's that we are forced to create new things that can do more using less. And you can do this by being innovative and creating new things, but you can also do it by creating partnerships and putting the strengths of two companies and combining them, creating something new. And that we're seeing happening a lot, also with Oaky, and that's super, super exciting.
I was going to say, that
answer.
collaboration piece is huge right now, right? For any business to be able to be successful, if they're not collaborating, if they're not looking at different ways of being creative and diversifying those revenue streams, they're missing a trick, right? We as business owners already know this, is without collaboration, we wouldn't be where we are now. And that's something that I feel incredibly strongly about. And it's actually a really good point. I think the creativity and the innovation side of things, definitely, don't get me wrong, but without that collaboration, where would you actually be? I massively agree with that. And I'm so happy you brought that up, actually.
Yeah. And for us all, I think maybe for us specifically, I remember in the early days when we took on like our second group of investors who were also like within hospitality tech.
Yeah.
And we were at that point having the feedback part. We had some functionality about doing interests, and we had upselling. And they also said, guys, you need to focus. But you have to have balls to focus on something, because it makes you also very vulnerable, at least when you're smaller as a business. But the vulnerability of being laser focused is also your biggest strength, as long as you can find partners to live inside of other ecosystems, so that kind of the whole product that you offer to the hotel satisfies their need, and you can just be the best in breed for what you do. So that's exciting.
I was going to say, in terms of upselling anyway, so of course that's the area that you guys specialize in, and hotels more and more are starting to adopt this way of working. And I suppose in terms of upselling, in terms of the hotels using it, why is it now more than ever important to adopt this upselling way of thinking, or this tech, if you like, the multiple ones that are available out there? Why is it so important now more than ever? And on the back of that, how does it even work? Because I know that there's a lot of hoteliers that still haven't adopted this, as I said, and I think for them it would just be a good way to understand how it actually works and how it would integrate. So I suppose first question is, why is it so important now? And the second question is, how does it work?
Okay. Let's think.
I've hit you two ways there.
Yeah. Why is it so important now? Well, the obvious answer, and it is the most truthful one, I think, is that if you do upselling the right way, you are automatically giving the guest a better experience. You're just extending the offline experience at the check-in or offline meetings with staff inside of the hotel to a digital service that can span from the booking process all the way to after you check out. And by giving the guest a better experience, you're automatically increasing the amount of revenue that guests will spend directly with your hotel. And then how it works. Well, there you have a very simple answer, and you have a very like broad answer. But if I would look at it like, if you're a hotel and you never ever did any type of digital upselling, maybe the low-hanging fruit would be to start using a technology to do upselling automated via emails before arrival, for example. But I have to say, now that we've been doing this for so many years, and we started with emails before arrival, now we're doing it across the entire guest journey.
Right.
It's very fascinating, but it automatically becomes a bit more complex. But I also find it's, if you want to, like in today's day and age, like I like to look at an email as like a central, like what's it called? A central station, a train station.
Yeah.
A lot of people roaming around. It's busy and it's rowdy and there's a lot of stuff going on. That's my email inbox. Then and then you have WhatsApp, which is pretty rowdy as well. A lot of groups. And then you have, for example, SMS. There, my SMS inbox is super. That's a very quiet little place. There's not much going on there. And utilizing different channels at different moments throughout the guest journey, we have a really, really strong correlation to conversion rates. And that's fascinating. So if you only look at the pre-arrival phase between booking and arrival, email is super strong, 20 days to 3 days before arrival. So between 3 and 20. But if you get to the last minute bookers, email is really performing quite badly. However, if you switch to text message 24 hours before arrival, you have a 97% open rate within 15 minutes of sending that text message.
Wow.
So that's crazy conversion rate. And then if you think about upselling, and this is what I really love about it, and what I love about it as being an art, is that when you have such high conversion rates, as a hotelier, you need to be very mindful that you're super, super relevant, because you get more intimate with the guest, I think. So you need to offer, maybe you can couple an upsell with offering an online check-in, or maybe offer information about the stay, or like we specialize in offer basically a link that takes you to a menu of selected handpicked offers, but offers that are relevant while you're almost going to the destination.
Sure.
So the needs of the guest changes throughout the guest journey.
Yeah.
The channels they prefer to communicate with the hotel also changes. And so from a hotel's perspective, I think the best type of upselling strategies, they take, let me see, I think it's three things. They take three things into mind.
Yeah.
First, everything starts with, what are the needs of my guests?
Sure.
And by saying guests, it would be great if hotels broke it down into at least a couple of segments.
Yeah.
And then you think about, what are the priorities for my hotel or my hotel departments? So do I have a certain priority in distribution, F&B, etc., etc.?
Yeah.
And then you put these two together, and then you create upsell offers that meet the needs of the guests and create a good return for whatever the priority may be for the facility. So an example can be, my guests are checking in. They have a need for convenience and throwing themselves down on the couch and just browsing around. What does the hotel have to offer?
Yeah.
And then the hotel is saying, I have a restaurant that is always busy at 6, but I really struggle to book it to capacity during lunchtime.
Right.
So then you use in-stay upselling by pushing lunch dinner packages or lunch meals, for example, in the restaurant. So you can basically drive your guests to take the offers that you want them to take, and to basically match the needs of the guest with the priorities of the hotel.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I bet there's been some weird and wonderful things that hotels and properties have wanted to upsell. Have you seen any interesting ones? Anything slightly unusual?
A lot.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
I mean, that's maybe that's one of the most exciting things about what we do, I think, because we started out as a commission-free platform. Our thesis was always, we're going to make it extremely easy. We're going to make it self-serve for hotels to create new guest-facing deals.
Yes.
And this didn't really exist in the industry before we did it. So we just made a very easy kind of content management system. You could upload your picture and very easily create new deals.
Fantastic.
And we would see just this plethora of upsells coming in. And one example we always talked about back in the day was a hotel chain that served business travelers, and they wanted to differentiate to other hotel chains that had a similar segment. So they started via Oaky upselling goldfish. And then you would buy a goldfish, €5. All the money went to some charity. But then you went into your room, and then there was a goldfish with a little note saying, "Hey Thomas, I will keep you company for the night."
Oh, that's so cool.
and they got really a lot of traction on Twitter, and even an animal rights organization started writing about this. So it went all the way. And then, but there's so many things. Like we have here in Amsterdam, some hotels where they would have a segment that would come for the smoking weed, basically. So the front office clerk would offer joint rolling workshops.
Okay.
For that.
When in Rome, I suppose, huh?
Yeah, when in Rome. But it's basically, for them, it's exactly what their guests want. And that's also what I mean. Upselling doesn't need to be just the standard things.
Yeah.
But when we look at our entire portfolio, which are certainly most of them do not offer joint rolling workshops, 50% of the revenue approximately come from room upgrades.
Right.
So it's a significant portion, but a lot of things that hotels offer are either a pure service, and that can be something that is even free. So it can be making sure that giving an incentive for hotels to guests that aren't loyalty members to sign up as a loyalty member can be extremely valuable for a hotel chain. driving F&B revenue, spa, wellness, all these things, as you can imagine, transportation. But there's so much creativity that a hotel can adopt that we launched a really cool feature last year, which is a deal library. So out of 8,000 types of deals that we have in our database, so we have 8,000 ideas that hotels have sold, and we took the 100 best ones, and we put copywriters to make really great copy, translated it to 24 languages, and now you can browse through and you can just add these creative deals, and that's like all kinds of things. We have COVID specials, even a category called so there's endless opportunities. Turning down housekeeping before you arrive, next to all of the classics. But
I was going to ask as well. I mean, you said about moving away from just that past or past tense upsell where they just drop a email through and, hey, do you want an upgrade, or do you want to bid for an upgrade like I had when through an airline? Where do you think the main touch points are for upselling opportunities? I imagine from the moment they're booking, obviously, when they're going through the motions and, hey, do you want to add this? And, hey, do you want to add that? Whether that be breakfast or whatever. But when, is there a sort of period, where there's certain touch points where upselling can, really step in? And if so, where, or is that constant throughout the process, or are there specific touch points that are worth looking out for?
Yeah, really great question. And this is something we really have been diving into as of late, and I'm really fascinated about it. So, okay, I will take you through the steps. We actually created an upselling course. We can maybe link it in the comments. So
definitely.
And I happen to be the instructor about this specific topic, so I didn't know you were going to ask this.
No, I've sort of sideswiped you here, haven't
I? No, it's not live yet. But we called this course or this thing that I'm doing upselling across the guest journey.
Okay.
So I think 5 stages. You have the booking stage, you have the pre-stay, you have the check-in, you have the in-stay, and then you have after you check out.
Yeah.
And the booking phase, what we see is twofold. Either you hold inventory around a lot of things. Like if you're in a booking engine today, you often cannot book a lot of super relevant add-ons and services because the technology systems are quite limited in terms of holding inventory. So if you book a really nice golf course, it's not so easy for you to add the tea time and maybe the spa at specific times, etc. But as technology providers like Oaky and maybe others have developed this further, I think that will be a really nice opportunity to provide super personalized upsells in the booking process before you actually check out. But before that's there, the most common thing is looking at maybe the best booking conversion in the industry, booking.com. You just minimize the amount of clicks you need to do to drive the direct booking. And then you take care of it right after in the booking confirmation or even in the same thank you page. So that would be step number 1. Step number 2 would be early, like 20 days before arrival, between 10 and 20. And what we then always recommend hotels to do is to sell room upgrades. Because if you book a standard room and you sell that standard room 10 days or 20 days before arrival, if you book a standard room and you upgrade to a suite, but you do this 10 to 20 days before arrival, the standard room that you booked now becomes available and that can be resold. So as long as you do this early in the customer journey, you can drive paid occupancy while maintaining high occupancy on your base category rooms. So that's a real profit machine. And then as you get closer, like 3, 4, 5 days before arrival, another email, but about things you can see and do and experience and eat. It's very impactful. And then actually a third opportunity 24 hours before arrival, but not via email, but this time via text message, for example. And coupling it maybe with information, maybe with a check-in, and being very, very targeted and mindful that it's a you're close to the guest.
Yes.
Using this channel. And then, of course, you have the offline opportunity when the guest is checking in.
Yes.
And this is actually a really interesting one. We talk to hundreds and hundreds of hotels every month, and a lot of them say, isn't digital upselling cannibalizing on front desk upselling? And you might think that it does, right? If a guest buys something pre-stay, will they also buy something when they're in front of you? But actually, we did a lot of research into this and looked it up with many hotels. And it turns out that they complement each other really, really well. Okay. And it's because of two things. When you do digital upselling before arrival, you have this opportunity to showcase everything that your hotel has to offer, like a big menu. And you can just say, we have a spa, we have this, and you can already buy it there and then and there. But what normally happens is that guests might buy one or two things, an early checkout and a fruit basket or balloons in the room. And then they arrive and they say, oh yeah, I saw in the email that you had a spa. And then, oh yeah, trigger for the front desk clerk. Yes, let me sell you a wellness entrance.
Sure.
So that knowledge from the guest is one thing that makes it very complementary. And the second thing is that the hotel knows more about the guest. So we see that guests that buy something before arrival are also more prone to buying something during stay if they when they check in, as long as it's relevant. So if someone bought something like a birthday cake, again, you could upsell balloons in the room, and you could utilize that information to personalize it further.
I suppose, I know I haven't sort of talked to you about this question either, but just sort of going on that then. So after they've stayed, is there an upselling opportunity once somebody is checking out? On that sort of note of, I don't know, it could be anything from, hey, if you want to stay with us again, get this great rate, or hey, next time you stay, we'll offer you this, or whatever it might be. Because I can imagine that upsell journey doesn't end all the way up until they're in the room. It sort of continues, right? It's got to that sort of life cycle of it, I suppose.
Yeah. I also mentioned this in the video, because then you go into in-stay upselling, and then you're thinking, oh my God, we've just been upselling to this guest like 6-7 touch points now. Shouldn't we stop? But the point is, you shouldn't stop, because the needs of the guest isn't ending, the experience isn't ending. So upselling shouldn't end, because upselling should be supporting the experience. As long as it does
I suppose as long as it's targeted to that specific person, right? Because if you understand your guest, then you know already that what you're going to be potentially selling is relevant, but not only relevant, but something that they're actually going to really love, rather than something quite generic that they know is just something that you've just slapped on there because you're hoping to grab an extra sale. But if it's something that that guest from the data you've already got could really benefit from, you're a lot more likely to get that positive engagement, right? It's just inevitable.
Yeah. And that's the nice thing. If you can convince the guest to become part of your loyalty membership, or if you don't have that, maybe your email program or whatever, then you can also use all the data that you gathered across the guest journey, so that you can tailor a really great offer. If you use an email marketing solution and say, it's not just going to be a generic email blast. I know what this guest was interested in. Maybe I will send, if they had a fine dining experience, you create some sort of culinary offer, maybe when they come back to your hotel or sister hotel. So that's kind of how you draw the loop, and then they come back again, and then it all starts over.
And then inevitably drive those direct bookings rather than obviously relying on the OTA, right?
Yeah,
it's sort of a win-win.
Yeah.
I was gonna sort of go on to sort of what your perspective or what you're seeing in terms of hotels, properties, their desire to invest in tech right now. I can't imagine, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, of course, Erik, but I can't imagine it's been the best time for let's say the younger tech groups out there that are trying to get people to invest in and look at their tech stack and look to invest. I can't imagine it's been an easy time over the last 18 months or let's say 12 months at the very least anyway. What have you seen in terms of the desire to invest in tech?
I think it got a lot stronger, definitely.
Okay.
And I think it has to do, I guess it has to do with two things. hotels work off of skeleton teams. They need to do more with less. So automation is more important, but also the the behavior behind the guest changed. My dad isn't really a techie. Now he's scanning all these QR codes everywhere. And
my parents are the same.
Yeah. So even the kind of non-techie guest segments are all of a sudden embracing technology. And if that's the case, then the hotels better catch up, because that's where your guests are. So you need to be there as well. And I think a lot of hoteliers realize this. I think from our perspective, we were just, I can't believe how grateful or how lucky we were, to be honest. Like, we closed our Series A investment round a few days before Trump pulled the borders. And then with that in the back of our, like a war chest that we could build upon, we were able to offer Oaky kind of on a revenue guarantee. So that made a really big difference for us. So we could say, any hotel that wants to use Oaky, you don't pay us anything unless we double the monthly fee in revenues through Oaky.
Right.
So the year was great. We more than doubled in amount of customers, but and we were also able to support these customers, which makes us happy. We're very passionate about what we do.
Yeah.
So I think hotels really want to, but they have a lot of things to do, a lot of things on their plate. If it's not easy to install, if it doesn't have a positive return on investment, and if it costs too much, either time or money to even get started, I think most hotels don't even look at it.
Yeah.
So I think you see a lot of tech players are offering their services at a lot lower fees than they used to kind of meet that there is a demand, but it's hard for hotels to commit. So again, very lucky to have a solution that drives ROI. Might be tougher to sell something else.
I suppose finally then, how are things going at Oaky? What's been going on in terms of anything exciting? What have you guys got going on for the rest of the year? Because I know from talking to you before this, there's a lot of energy within Oaky. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of moving parts. So what's going on with you guys? What's exciting at the
moment? Right now, today we launched a really cool partnership with one of the leading CRM players, Sendine. That to me is really cool. I can remember in 2017 we had this dream. Oh my God! If you can integrate our upselling capabilities with data around specific guests and kind of enrich that, so you can personalize everything even more. How great would that be? And that became true now. So that was really cool.
Fantastic.
I think a lot of these partnerships that we're doing, but now the biggest thing that is happening is that we are building Oaky to be the best upselling platform for hotel chains, and we're launching something that is totally new in the upselling industry, and that is basically a chain dashboard. It sounds very simple, but it's a way for a hotel chain to very, very scalably manage all of their upsell initiatives across hundreds or thousands of hotels. And you can basically say, I want to, like, when we look at upselling, it needs to be dynamic and fast. Like, if you have an initiative, you need to be able to implement it quickly. So that was the problem when it's too focused around one property. So we wanted to make it scalable. So we spent many months, and we did, I think, 50 hotel chain interviews, 1 hour long each. A lot of fun doing that. And co-created this dashboard together with them. And what hotels can now do is they can say, okay, I want in my brands, which are in Russia, I want to have this type of guest communication, these sets of deals, and I want to upsell via, I don't know, email, text message, and WeChat, for example, because I have a lot of Chinese travelers, just as an example. So they can basically define everything around their upselling from one place, and I think save many hours of work, and so specifically work built for hotel chains to scale their upselling. And that in combination with cool stuff like a deal library or dynamic pricing.
Yeah.
To us, we try to just build things that will save time and help make more money by creating a better guest experience. If we can do that, we're happy.
I was going to say, and I think a lot of hoteliers will be happy as well. If they can tick those boxes, I think there'll be a lot of happy hoteliers out there.
Yeah.
Well, Erik, of course, thank you so much for taking the time out of your diary. I know how busy you are, as I said at the start, so I really do appreciate it. You're a very energetic individual, somebody that I really find very engaging, and I actually really enjoy talking to you. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you so much, Thomas. It was a pleasure. And have a great afternoon.
Oh, thank you very much.
Hope to see you in person soon.
Oh, definitely. We'll have to think of a way to get me out to Amsterdam as soon as possible. Man. We can meet up properly. And guys, don't forget to look who's on next week's episode now.